patient portal looked like. Oh, we'll get back to you in 2 days. A week later, still
Wow.
no answer. Hi, folks, we're live. How are y'all?
Good afternoon, everybody. I am holding the brat in my arms, swaddled. He was asleep in his insert that belongs in the bassinet, but that's on the couch. But somebody decided that they had to have a big ass burp, so I had to burp him, and now he's decided that, oh, the boob in the armpit's the best.
Yep, the cozy spots.
Uh huh. And the other hand is under his bum, so I am trapped. So let us pray that his father
Oh, Lord.
shortly. And I am hurting my bones. Oh my God, I don't know where to crawl right now. My
Sounds like you
bones.
just need a nap.
Yep. And I still have to try to get ready to leave for tomorrow, which I don't even want to go to, but we'll see.
I have to go for an appointment on the 7th, but they haven't called me to, confirm it.
Okay, lovely.
Oh, hey, insurance.
I know.
So, you know,
Hey,
dumbasses all
hey, Blue
around.
Rose. Blue Rose is in the house.
I'm getting the link sent out. Sorry. I'm quiet. So you can talk everybody's ear off while I'm fussing with this.
Yep. So, Blue, how's the weather down in Texas? It's okay. You're okay. Mm-hmm. He's snoring.
Aw,
I don't know if you can hear him
little
or not.
one. Yeah, I can hear him a bit.
Yep. Yeah, so like I said, he did pretty good. He had some
Aw.
pears off of a spoon. Then he had his bottle.
I bet he loved that.
So his little ass is satisfied, and he was out within minutes he was gone. So they tried to give him applesauce last night, and they said he would look at them like, you people are crazy. And I'm like, you just don't have it.
Add a little sugar to it. He'll eat it.
Yeah,
No
yep.
problem.
I think they gave him, I don't know if
But
they,
we already know that from years of experience.
I know. Back in the day, do you remember, like when they were fussy that you'd put K-Rose syrup in the formula?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yep. If they had a tummy ache or whatever. Yep.
A teaspoon wouldn't
Yep.
kill him. The light
Yep.
syrup, not the
Yep.
dark. The
Not the
light would be
dark, the
better.
light syrup. Yep.
But that's basically corn. That's
Corn.
basically corn syrup, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. It's used to make candy with.
Yeah, I use it all the time for stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, let me get the videos pulled up.
Do we have any articles? Or where we,
Uh,
or where
we
we're starting,
do.
or where we're left?
We do. I don't know. There's a few shorts that you had listed.
Okay, let's do
I'm
those
trying
and
to
get
see
those out of the way.
this. Um, was it this one? I can't tell. Hold on. Nope, not that one.
Okay.
I hate when the um I can't adjust the size of it on the when I'm selecting the file. Oh, there it is. Okay, this is one of the shorts that you had. Oh, hey JJ, thank you for liking. Okay, so this
Thank
is
you,
one of the
Blue.
shorts you sent over.
Yeah, baby JJ
And
is
then we have
kind of cute. I'm not sold yet on him. He's a pain in my
he is
butt.
adorable.
Oh, he's a pain in the ass.
He's an angel. He's an angel.
An angel.
Absolute angel.
Huh, okay,
Yes.
you say so. You don't hear him going wah
Uh,
wah wah
uh, I've heard him do that
wah.
during the day. It doesn't bug me. I just pick him up and cuddle him.
Yeah, well, that's why he's up against the boob in the armpit. He's just like
Yep.
his
And he's
dad.
happy.
Yeah, Yep. Oh my gosh, my bones are hurting.
All
Ooh.
right. Let's hit play since I found the video.
Oh,
Um, this is the one that you have for strong police women. I don't
okay.
know. I've not watched it. It was just a
It's
short.
yes,
So,
it is.
all right. I believe I unmuted. All right. Here we
Happy
go.
Lesbian Month. Happy Gay Girls Club. Happy Gay Girls Club. Happy LGBTQ RSTUVWXYZ. Uh oh, they're coming. Uh oh. They look strong. They look strong.
So, overweight, out of shape women thinking they're intimidating. Okay. If they really want to feel that way, more power to them.
I mean, come
Um,
on,
Art says
really?
that about the baby.
Yes.
Art says they're always an angel when they're somebody else's problem. LOL.
Thank you, Art. I appreciate that.
But yeah, overweight police ladies not as intimidating as they look
I mean,
or think they look. Just gonna point that out.
yeah, I mean, come on, seriously? This is what I'm talking about. You know, back in the day when I was running the, I don't know if I ever told you, but when I was running the police record room, I actually
Uh huh.
applied to be a cop. And I made it all the way past the lie detector portion of the testing. And Eric said to me, you know what? We have a 1 year old child, and you're not going out on the street. He goes, I'm putting my damn foot down. He goes, you're not doing it. I was like, oh, step up. So I didn't go through it, but there were two of my girlfriends that did. And when I take a look at these women, if that's what they are, if,
Yeah.
oh, one hit, just one hit. You know what I mean? Really? Even by them skinny ass kids, you know what I mean? Just, it's one hit and they're done. They're not going to do jack shit.
Well, yeah, because the second they lose their balance is going to take them a good minute to get back up. Even if the
Exactly.
pain doesn't hurt, let's say
Right.
they don't get hurt, all it takes is enough to throw them off balance.
Yeah, because you do know weebles wobble, so, you know.
Yep.
Anyway.
They weebles wobble. Well, these ones do fall down.
Yeah.
I hate to say it. And I even know it. Like at my height and my weight, I could easily be thrown off balance. So the day I can start losing weight and balancing myself back out again, then I'll be more comfortable on my feet.
Right.
But as of right now, I'm not as big as them. I'll tell you that. I'm not
I
even
mean,
that big.
and what was,
And this is me at the heaviest I've ever been in my life. Well, not the heaviest, but pretty close.
oh, fudge. And what was the one doing flashing her flashlight? What was that supposed to do? Cause me to go into epileptic fit? I mean, was it in the
Um,
daytime? Like,
I
was that?
don't know, and that's what makes me think this was staged. It makes me think it was staged. That
Uh,
they knew this recording was gonna happen, it was planned out, choreographed, the whole shebang.
uh, you say
Art says, "In
everything's
my
safe.
opinion, 1 in 100 women can actually do the job. There's something to be said for training, but that requires you to be in great shape as a woman." Exactly. Yeah, and you would have probably pulled it off, given your height and how fit
Yep.
you were in your younger years.
Yeah, at the
You
time I would
probably
have.
are one of the few that would have made it. I know if I were to have even tried, my asthma would have been the downfall. I'd be in an asthma attack trying to chase some robber down, hitting my albuterol, and like I can't breathe, I can't breathe.
And I think too,
I would be I'd be a hazard risk.
yeah, I think the other thing too that was kind of like made me somewhat hesitant was at the time the city paramedics went out on strike, okay? And they were
Uh huh.
paid, believe it or not, the city paramedics were paid less than I was at the time as a lifeguard. That's how little
Oh
they
hell
made.
no!
Oh, hell yes, for
No
everything that
wonder
they.
they went on strike. I don't blame them.
So, again, all the mid managers had to play scab paramedic. And first day out, we had to go out to the zoo into their big parking lot, and we had to drive the ambulances. So I was the only woman that was out there that day. And I was the only woman that didn't run over a cone, that could drive the course. I'm recorded on TV and everything. And they came up and they said, Dee, you did fantastic, but we can't show this. We have to show how bad things are. It was freaking epic. We spent
You
at
sound like
least,
me. We break the mold and the
yes,
stereotypes of women. We don't fit those stereotypes.
right. I spent a week on 24-hour shifts going around the city, and I'm telling you, the places that I went in, the ones where you put your foot on and the cockroaches scattered and they were on the walls, the furniture. I mean,
Oh
I,
yeah,
I came home, I was
I've been in homes like that too.
hysterical because you know me and bugs. So, between dealing with the public in that realm and as a paramedic and going there to really help somebody versus having to be a cop and go stop something or do something, uh, it gave me room for pause. So
Yep.
it was,
Mhm. Yeah, once you start going into people's homes
uh huh,
and you soon realize that not everybody keeps their home like you do,
right?
and many, and I mean many, are not your home and gardens picturesque homes.
Well, I,
And those are the ones you got to get through.
I'm not even saying home and garden, I'm saying filth. I mean,
Yeah,
it
I
was
know.
out and out filth. I mean,
I
when
I
we
would say thousand out of the 1,000 plus patients I had, maybe 10 to 15% were actually clean homes.
wow,
Yeah,
it's amazing. It was truly,
yeah.
it was such an eye opener because we went everywhere in the city, everywhere. But it was fun driving the ambulance and going through red lights and shit. That was a lot of fun. If I could just drive the vehicle,
Uh,
I'd be
well,
happy. But nope.
unfortunately, you don't get to just drive. You got to assist with
Uh,
lifting
Yep.
and moving.
Yep.
That's why they have the paramedic and the EMT in the ambulance.
Yep.
One is trained to do medicine, the other is trained for lifting and maneuvering and doing as they're told.
Well, no, they not here. Both are EMTs. Both are. They take turns. Both are EMTs.
Most EMTs have to go through at least 2 to 3 years of college.
Well, both are EMTs. There's not an assistant. They are both EMTs that are in the vehicle.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that is the difference between
Yep.
an EMT. Oh no, the paramedic is the one with the medical degree. The EMT is just the tech. They're an emergency medicine tech.
Yeah.
And the paramedic is the one who actually has the medical training. I apologize. So that is interesting
Mm-hmm.
that they would have two instead of one. Well, I can understand why in a major city
Yeah.
they would need two fully trained people at all times.
Because you never know
But
what you're
yeah,
going to encounter.
it would be fun to
And
go back to college for it.
yeah, and nowadays, like where I live, because of all the violence that had occurred throughout our enjoyable COVID period, in the BLM
Uh
riots,
huh.
the when you call the paramedics, before the paramedics show up, the police show up to your property first to find out and to make sure
Yeah,
you really
make
need the
sure it's safe
paramedic.
for the paramedics to go through.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Because they
Hmm.
don't want to have the paramedics, run into any type of situation.
When we lived just outside of Detroit, they would say fire rescue. The fire department's version
Yeah,
of
they'll
paramedics
do that
was
if the
police
right
before they would have an actual ambulance pull up.
yeah if the paramedics aren't available, then the police, as I said, come first, and if the paramedics aren't available, then they'll send the fire department, who are somebody's trained on the truck to be, I guess, like an EMT kind of situation till the
Yeah.
paramedics can get here.
Yep. It's something that if I could ever get my back working again, I would love to get into.
Oh yeah, so you'd go out the
I
first day
wouldn't
and
have
hurt
to
your
I'd
back.
have to go back to college for 2 years. Well,
Yeah,
I'd have to go back to college for an additional 2 years, but it would be fun.
yeah, and then you'd hurt your back. This is the first day out as you lifted somebody. Mm-hmm. Okay,
Yeah.
what do we?
Well, if I can, like I said, if I can get my back better, we know it ain't going to happen.
Right.
But still, if in a miracle circumstance I can pull it off, I would definitely consider going back to become a paramedic. It
Okay,
would be a
so
fun job.
it would. Art said the only women who did well in training with me were very athletic. Could they beat a trained man? No, but most criminals aren't trained. They don't want the paramedics in the middle of a shootout. That's life in the hood. LOL.
Yes, it is. We have another video that has to do with on the topic we're talking.
Okay.
And this is one you also sent. This is the police dog.
Yes, the
I
canine.
want this dog. He's
This is a
adorable. Or
yes,
she.
yes, canine officer is on the job.
Yep.
We gotta load
Hit
up, but
play.
you can't take it with you. We got you. Oh, you did get it in there. Wow.
Smart dog.
Mm. I want to know
He wanted that log.
what the hell is he doing with it? I mean, like, is he going to chew it to death?
He is taking it home to play with it.
Play that one again, Crazy Bee, because I watched it like 5 times. I was like, how'd he get it in the car? Now everybody
Magic.
that hold on, everybody
Watch.
that wait,
I'll
hold on,
pause it right at the point.
hold on 1 second, Crazy Bee. Everybody that has a big package that they need to get in the back seat of their car, Watch, the dog will teach you how to do it.
Yep. Here we go.
We gotta load up, but you can't take it with you. We gotta.
See how he twists his head to turn
Uh
the
huh.
log sideways
Yep.
and then jumps in?
Uh huh.
He's smart.
You did get it in there. Wow.
If he can get it in, he gets to keep it.
Yes, sir. I mean, like, seriously?
He wanted that log.
Yes, he did.
That is a very intelligent dog.
Very much so. So don't mess with him because he'll get you in the car that way.
Yeah, canine units you do not mess with at
No.
all. Ever.
We,
Like,
we,
leave the canine unit alone.
yeah, we had a neighbor that trained them. They were, they could be vicious.
Okay.
They could, all we did was had to give
Oh,
the
yeah.
command and it'd be over.
Yes, it would. Next up, we have.
There we go.
You sent this over.
I
Oh, let
just,
me enlarge it over here.
I just wanted everybody to see the difference between the Department of Health in 2021. That's Rachel Levine. I forget her other name. And that's the Department of Health in 2025. Rachel Levine is a trans woman. She hails from my home state of Pennsylvania,
That's obvious.
and was one of the ones, along with Cuomo, that sent COVID patients to nursing homes. Prior to sending patients to nursing homes, her own his mother was in a nursing home, and he took the mother out of the nursing home and brought her home, and then moved everybody else's relatives in,
Yep.
and was one of the ones that put the rule in place that there was no
That sounds
visitation.
about right for our federal government.
Uh-huh. So I want you to look at the difference between he, and RFK. Big difference.
Mhm. Big difference between them.
Yes, for the Department of Health. Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big RFK fan, but I'd rather him than a man in drag. Just saying. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Robert RFK Jr. I see some good and bad in it. And he really went out of his way to scare the living hell out of people about certain vaccines. Yes, there may be dangerous components in them. Yes, they may need to be revisited for formulary purposes. But the fact is, we still had health benefits from the ones that are there. Do not pull them from the market until you have a safe version
Well,
to replace them.
there was
Like
just.
scaring the
Did
hell out
you
of
see
people
the
over the
huge
measles
study
and the
on
polio
hepatitis?
vaccines. Mm.
Did you see the huge study on hepatitis B vaccine in children?
No, I did not.
There's a big one. It's
I'll
pretty.
have to Google it.
It's pretty massive.
Well, every time I talk about it, I get in trouble on YouTube, so I can't exactly do
Okay,
that
we
on
won't get
YouTube.
in. We
But on
won't get into.
Discord, I
Yeah,
will.
yeah, we won't get into
Yep.
it here, but it's a pretty massive report.
Wow. And again, I've said it. I don't mind revisiting the formularies of a lot of the medications on the market. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's just funny that supposedly these vaccines work, but washing your hands and sanitary living increased at the same time." And I'm like, "Oh my god."
Right.
Like, there's still benefits from vaccines. Like, if you do not understand like scientifically how they work, what the fudge? Like,
All right, so we're getting stuff in
You
the chat.
still
Let's
need to take
stop.
many of these
Crazy B.
vaccines. Some of
Let
them are overrated, in my opinion.
yes,
Oh,
Crazy
yep. Shut up.
B.
I'm going to shut up.
Yes. Move on. Move on. We're getting
All right.
comments.
Next topic. Oh, hit which comment?
Well,
Yeah, I
you're
see
just
them.
saying it's
I
not a YouTube topic and
see them.
don't use ScrewTube. So
I know, but
I know.
it's
Go
not.
ahead, move on. What's our next video, dear?
Yeah, I know. I gotta behave myself. Next video is Liberal Hivemind. Amy Conan Barrett
Hmm?
decided to finally use her backbone. So, let's take a listen to
All right,
this.
folks, so let's break it down. Let's start off with Justice Barrett, who wrote this. We will not dwell on Justice Jackson's argument, which is at odds with more than 2 centuries worth of precedent. Not to mention the Constitution itself, we observe only this, that Justice Jackson decries an imperial executive while embracing an imperial judiciary. In one sentence, Barrett torched Jackson's entire dissent as not just wrong, but historically and constitutionally bankrupt. She's breaking down the entire contradictory worldview of the left. To take this legalese and translate it into plain English, she's basically saying that Ketanji Brown Jackson wants to strip power from the president when it's politically convenient, and then hand over the power to unelected judges, like herself, who are supposed to be neutral interpreters of the Constitution. That is raw, partisan ideology masquerading as legal thought. In other words, she's identifying, in my view, the core issue with people like Justice Jackson. She was never nominated for her legal brilliance. No, that was clearly on display during her nomination hearing. No, she was nominated because she checked boxes. And clearly it shows her dissents tend to read like MSNBC blog posts, for Pete's sakes, as if she's an opinion writer, doing her best Rachel Maddow impersonation. But going back to the whole Ketanji Brown Jackson was picked because she checks boxes, a lot of people might be saying, well, identity boxes, right? DEI, which I'm sure plays a role, but no, the most important thing is, let's call it the Karine Jean-Pierre element, absolute blind loyalty to the party. Whatever the Democrat Party needs in the moment, that's the decision that comes down. Ketanji Brown Jackson's loyalty lies with the Democrat Party and not.
At that point, how can she even remotely be a judge if she is that heavily biased? How can she be fair in anything that she says or does?
I mean, it was clear from the beginning. How do people get that far in life?
It's all messed up, is what it is. Art says Justice Jackson's dissent was a joke. There's a long history of the scope of stays being limited to only the parties before the court. Yeah, she's an idiot. And again, Biden pushed her through. I watched her the questioning, the
Information in the
hearing thing,
questions,
the
yeah.
Judiciary Committee. Yeah. She is she there I don't know how she got put in other than
I
just it was no they like she has no competence behind what she does.
no. I've listened to her even make question some of the arguments that have been before the Supreme Court. And she asks some of the stupidest questions. I mean, they say there's never such thing as a stupid question. Listen to her and you will find out
Bullshit.
that is the truth, that there is such a thing as a stupid question.
Yes, I agree. I absolutely agree. She
She is the epitome
is
of,
the queen of stupid
yes,
questions.
she is.
But
I mean, I thought some Congress people were, but it's scary uh, to know that she's
uh-huh.
on there for life.
There's got to be a way to remove them. Can't there be? Like if they're
Can
corrupt
you,
or
wait,
incompetent?
don't you impeach them?
Let's find out. Hold on. Oh, wow. Google totally listened in. As I'm typing, the first thing that comes up is, can a Supreme Court justice be impeached?
Wow.
Yes, they can be removed through office through an impeachment process. The Constitution outlines that federal judges, including Supreme Court judges, can be removed through the House of Representatives and a conviction through the Senate. The process is the same for other federal officials and a president.
Like Mayorkas and
Has
like that.
anyone thought
So
to remove this chick?
yeah, but what would it take to has she really risen to the level of, impeachment?
I don't know. Let's see.
Okay, continue to
So,
hit play. I think
as
he
of right
makes some
now,
good
in the
arguments here.
entire history, well, hold on. In the
Go ahead.
entire history of the United States,
Right?
no Supreme Court justice has ever been removed from office via impeachment.
Wow. Has anybody been
One Supreme Court
impeached?
Justice, Samuel Chase, was impeached by the House in 1804, but he was acquitted by the Senate. One, all the way back in the day. Yeah. All right, let's hit play and see what else he's got to add.
Not to the Constitution. And that's kind of a problem as a sitting
If you
Supreme
say
Court
so, Art.
justice, don't you think? I mean, just look at her stance on free speech.
So my biggest concern is that your view has the First Amendment hamstringing the government in significant ways in the most important time periods. I mean, what would you have the government do? I've heard you say a couple times that the government can post its
Crazy
own speech,
bee,
but in
I
my
have to step
hypothetical,
away. I'll be back in
kids,
as
this
soon
is
as I
not
can.
safe. Don't.
Did
All
you
right,
hear him?
sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Yes, I did. There appears to be a bit of a lag today, too. All right, let's get through this video.
Is not going to get it done. And so I guess some might say that the government actually has a duty to take steps to protect the citizens of this country. And you seem to be suggesting that that duty cannot manifest itself in the government encouraging or even pressuring platforms to take down harmful information. So can you help me? Because I'm really worried about that because you've got the First Amendment operating in an environment of threatening circumstances from the government's perspective, and you're saying that the government can't interact with the source of those problems.
This woman actually believes that.
Yeah, the First Amendment is about free speech, freedom of religion, freedom of expression, freedom of the press. We get that. What does this have to do with so many other things that are going on? I don't get it. I don't get it. Let's keep listening, see if there's a point behind
that we
it.
need regulation on speech that is, quote, harmful. In other words, she does.
Oh, she wants to go Canada style and England, UK, EU. No, we're not going to take away our free speech. You cannot take away our free speech. And if you try, you're going to have some really pissed off people because your side keeps crying about oppressed speech to begin with. So, yeah, bite me.
She doesn't believe in the First Amendment in principle. No, only when it doesn't make her feel bad or other people feel bad. And this is somebody that's sitting on the highest court of the land. Honestly, it's absolutely shameful. And I think that's at the core of Amy Coney Barrett's comments here. That's why they hit so hard. Because essentially now it's logged into the history. It's written in a Supreme Court decision. In other words, we've now got logged into the history books the public exposure of Ketanji Brown Jackson's entire facade. She is a partisan actor, a mouthpiece for the activist left that's simply wearing the robe of a Supreme Court justice. But anyways, now moving on from the drama, let's go to the actual decision itself. We got a major win here for President Trump, folks. After months of constant lawfare and judicial obstruction, the Supreme Court has finally ruled in favor of ending the endless cycle of partisan injunctions.
Well, this was a big one, wasn't it? This morning, the Supreme Court has delivered a monumental victory for the Constitution, the separation of powers, and the rule of law in striking down the excessive use.
That has been my favorite saying since I was 12. Yeah, 12 years old, I've been using that phrase. Um, the comment he used was from one of the cases about Twitter and the other censoring content based on government policy. Yeah, that's no, people are going to have to get over it. We allow nut jobs out there trying to tell us that there's like 400 and something genders. And so, what if there is? You have the right to talk about it. And I've said it in every single video. Every time this gets brought up, if they really want to cry oppressed speech, I will pull out a roll of duct tape and show them oppressed speech. Just saying, I'll leave their noses open so they can breathe. Their hands will be free so they can take it off. But the fact still remains, I'd love to show them what oppressed speech really is, as legally as possible and as harmless as possible. Because if it was any other country, for the crap they're saying, they'd be locked up if it was against what the government wanted. They don't understand what oppressed speech is. And I swear, I'd love to educate some people. Oh, you said something I don't like and it's against government policy? Here's the duct tape. Seriously. Anyways, let's continue the video.
Use of nationwide injunctions to interfere with the normal functioning of the executive branch. The Supreme Court has stopped the presidency itself. That's what they've done. And really, it's been an amazing period of time this last hour. There are people elated all over the country.
Your right to free speech ends at my ears. I don't have to listen, but you can say whatever you want. Bingo. You can ask my kids. I've said this most of their life. I've said it to my brother. You can walk away from words.
Or can you?
You can always walk away from words. Does not matter what someone says. You can walk away from words. You don't have to stand there and listen. You don't have to put up with it. And like I said, they really want to push it. Duct tape is a very good tool. But I don't condone violence. I mean, until you put your hands on me, I don't give a rat's rear what's going on. The second you put your hands on me, it's over. But you can run your mouth all you want. Like you're saying, Art, your free speech ends at my ears. Exactly. Walk away from it. Not being able to freely speak, that crazy bee has to self-censor to keep from being kicked off of. Yes, I know. It's so funny. But I could. I do have the right to free speech, but there are consequences to free speech as well. And you have to weigh the pros and cons. Now, I'm not saying anything harmful, according to me and 90% of people with brain cells, but I still have to abide by the platform's rules. And as much as I don't like it, I can do a questions that need answers without a YouTube day, and we can just have fun with it. Especially now that I know how to run OBS into Rumble, and I can have some fun with it. So, we will be playing with that this weekend. But well, there's other things going on too. So, long story short, I'm working on some things that are not going to be on YouTube. Period. Like, it's going to be Rumble only, and I'm sorry for the YouTube lovers. There is a couple projects I'm working on that are going to have to be Rumble only. So we shall see how things go. And Dee knows about some of them. And one in particular is pertaining to the dangers of quite a few of the gaming platforms in the online gaming stuff. So I'll keep you all updated as I get to that. And Pilled, I still have not figured out how to stream to Pilled. I'm working on that process. I don't know what I'm doing. I may have to reach out to Lady Hamilton and see how it works. Because I've been helping her with a few things. I might have to ask her how it works and see if I can get it incorporated with the rumbles and the everything else. So be patient. I am still working on it. I have not forgotten. You would not believe what my day consists of from morning till night. I literally have my day segmented out. I do editing between this time and that time. Then I do this between this time and that time. I do computer trying to find this, that, and the other. And oh, the guide. Oh, they will guide. Oh, okay. I didn't know their support was that kind because I'll tell you what, I've been on Twitter support, well, X support, YouTube
Twitter.
support. That crap don't do nothing. Um, the government cannot restrict your speech, but the people hosting you can. Yes. That's often misunderstood. And that's one of the reasons why I do self censor. I hate that word. I was choking on it. I do it on the fact of YouTube because, well, we get our message out as best we can to everybody else. So, um, let's go ahead, hit play, get through a little bit more, and I will reach out on Pilled and see what I can do to get that streaming set up.
The country. I've seen such happiness and spirit. Sometimes you don't see that, but this case is very important. I was elected on a historic mandate, but in recent months we've seen a handful of radical left judges effectively try to overrule the rightful powers of the president to stop the American people from getting the policies that they voted for in record numbers. It was a grave threat to democracy, frankly, and instead of merely ruling on the immediate cases before them, these judges have attempted to dictate the law for the entire nation. In practice, this meant that if any one of the nearly 700 federal judges disagreed with the policy of a duly elected president of the United States, he or she could block that policy from going into effect or at least delay it for many years, tie it up in the court system. This was a colossal abuse of power which never occurred in American history prior to recent decades. And we've been hit with more nationwide injunctions than were issued in the entire 20th century together. Think of it, more than the entire 20th century. Me.
Good, and I think President quite succinct. You know, this president has had to deal with more nationwide injunctions thrown at him in the past few months than every other president over the last, I think, 100 years combined. It's completely freaking insane and out of control. We got these unelected judges in blue districts who have been trying to override the will of
This is not overriding the president. This is them overriding a president giving us back our powers from a lot of what he seems to be doing. And I'd love to see more of this stuff get kicked back to the states, like Roe v. Wade. I want more of it kicked back to the states. Can we get more of these kinds of things down to a state level and quit trusting the federal government to run so much of our lives? Can we pretty please? And again, these are judges who are interfering with, reversing the boys and girls sports, changing up some of the health medicine
How
stuff.
come we always hear about boys and women's sports but never women's and male sports?
Because most women aren't dumb enough to try and get into men's sports.
Can I get into men's sports?
If you want to, you can get into men's sports. You're a
Joking.
male. Trust me, birth certificate, changed your diapers, male. However, a lot of why is this a federal decision? It should be states' rights. And again, I get it. Section, what is it? That section 9 or whatever the law is for keeping men and women separate, protecting women in sports. That is nationwide for a reason. I get that, but there are many things state level that need to absolutely be put back at need to be state level. I'm sorry, I'm talking in circles today. I have not had enough caffeine, but I'm frustrated with how much the federal government controls. We need to get a lot of this back to the state. And yeah, I saw the notification pop up. I'll read it as while I'm playing the next segment of this. But we need to get the courts out of this. Like It's like they're almost trying to stop us from having our own rights. This is not just the president. This is also the people who are being impacted. So, yeah, it's a mess. Anyways, here we go. Let's
the
hit
will of the
play.
people and shut down the presidency through their legal technicalities. And that's obviously been the whole thing here, right? Lawfare? That's why the people at MSNBC are losing their frickin' minds.
This is a really huge win for the Trump administration. I'm glad that we're talking about it in those terms, because I think one of the great fears with this case was that if the court did not say anything about the substance and scope of the 14th Amendment, media would say that the court had saved birthright citizenship. The court has not saved birthright citizenship. It simply kicked that can down the line and made the legal conditions under which a future suit over birthright citizenship can actually be resolved. This is a huge win for the Trump administration, because the court has essentially kneecapped lower courts from stopping this administration when it engages in lawless and unconstitutional behavior. This is all happening in an environment where the Trump administration is not only going after undocumented persons and deporting people without the benefit of due process, they're doing so while they are also upending the legal landscape, but making it harder for pro bono outfits to secure the help they need from law firms to bring these suits. And now with this decision, they're essentially saying that litigants will have to file in each particular jurisdiction around the United States in order to be clear that their resolution will have legally binding effect. That means you're just going to need a flood, an army of lawyers at a time when that army of lawyers is not going to be forthcoming. So make no mistake about this. The court has given this administration an enormous win. They have put one hand behind the backs of those who are trying to fight against this administration, and they have dealt a death blow to the rule of law.
Yeah, it's obvious why they're so frickin' pissed, because the Democrats can no longer engage in lawfare to stop this president. No, instead they have to actually win elections now to secure their own mandate if they don't like what the current duly elected president is doing. In other words, democracy has now been restored. The Democrats hate democracy. It's clear, isn't it? You know, we got these Democrats constantly preaching about saving democracy. Oh, we're saving democracy, one corrupt legal act at a time. But what they really mean is they're saving their own power. They don't want elections. They don't want voters. No, nowadays they just want judges. That's good enough for them. And another thing is clear. They don't want debate. No, they want censorship. They just want control. Control at any cost.
They want
and they don't care about
dictatorship.
attaining that control by majority rule. No, they just want it. They're just entitled to it because they have a D next to their name. Well, unfortunately for them, democracy is punched back as President Trump yet again scores another major legal victory. Remember when Hakeem Jeffries told us that Donald Trump was losing in the courts and being totally humiliated? Yeah, it's kind of funny considering he's won, like over 90% of these cases? Well, here comes another victory, and Amy Coney Barrett coming in with the cherry on top, absolutely torching Joe Biden's auto pen Supreme Court nominee. You gotta love to see it, and most importantly, you gotta love what's coming.
Okay.
Okay. That's that video. So yeah, our court used as a weapon still, and there ain't much we can do about it except hope maybe someone will wake up and stop voting these morons in or allowing these morons to be appointed.
I
Heidi.
agree.
I went on a bit of a tangent earlier. You should have been here to shut me up, but it happens.
You better not get us in trouble. I'll have to come down there.
I don't think I did. Time will tell.
Okay.
We'll see. I don't know for a fact, but
All
you know,
right.
it's a
It's
guessing game at
okay.
this point.
It'll be all right.
But I had fun with it.
What was the subject
So
matter?
did you? It was on the Katanji
Oh,
Brown Jackson or whatever.
so in other
Wanting to
words, you were
use
acting
censored
racist.
No,
Okay.
I just kindly kept pointing out about, freedom of speech and the difference of speaking in person to person.
Right.
Free speech, yes. Free of consequence, no. Do I have to listen? No. Art brought up a good point. Your freedom of speech stops at my ears. Yeah.
Yep.
Like I always say, you can walk away from words. You don't
Yep.
have to respond to words. Walk the hell away if you don't like it.
Well, if someone used the word,
All right, move on before you
broken
continue on.
your legs so you couldn't walk away.
All right, we have an article that you can
Okay.
read.
All righty.
And let me make sure it is enlarged enough that you will be able to read it. Holy crap.
No, it's okay.
Is that actually the article? No, this is just a summary of the articles.
Right.
I
Well,
think. Did I follow the link right?
I don't know.
Hold on, let me make sure I got the right link.
I think it
Um
is.
Yeah, it is just to a summary of it.
Okay,
So,
that's
let me
fine.
enlarge this sucker for you.
So
And
Trump hails a
oh
giant
my
win
lord.
after the Supreme Court curbs judges' power to block his orders.
Yep. Let's see what people are saying. Here's the summary. Can
And
you
the
see that or
summary
do I
is,
need to enlarge it?
that's good. The U.S. Supreme Court issues a 6-3 ruling that will curb judges' power to block President Donald Trump's orders nationwide. Trump calls the decision a giant win, and Attorney General Pam Bondi says it will stop the endless barrage of injunctions against the president's agenda. In a scathing dissent of the opinion, Justice Sonia Mayorga says it is an open invitation for the government to bypass the Constitution. The case stems from President Trump's order to end birthright citizenship for children of scroll up
Oh,
please.
sorry. I was getting the next thing pulled up.
Hold on.
Oops, I went too far, didn't I? No, I didn't.
No. Hold
Oh,
on.
right here.
Okay, so let me reread that. The case stems from President Trump's order to end birthright citizenship for children of undocumented immigrant and some temporary residents and visitor. This ruling did not directly tackle the constitutionality of Trump's order, a case likely to end up before the top court at a later date. There is a conservative majority in the Supreme Court, and Trump appointed 3 of the 9 justices. For weeks, we have been waiting for one of the most important
Yep.
Supreme Court decisions of the current term. On the last day before the court paused for the summer, the opinion appeared. I like how they get the whole summer off. You know, that's just
I know.
wonderful. On the last day before the court paused for the summer, one moment please while we dispose of the young child. He just woke up a couple minutes ago and he had half of the bottle. Hey baby, how you doing? How was camp? Good? Alright. If you want to come down later, you can, okay? Alright, love you guys. See you tomorrow. Mwah. I love you. Alright guys, bye. Will you let the dog out for me, please? Thank you. Okay, thank you. In a 6-3 decision, the conservative majority curbed the powers of lower court judges to block President Donald Trump's orders nationwide. At the White House, Trump called the ruling a monumental victory for the Constitution. Justice Sonia Mayorga from the liberal wing of the court wrote the dissenting opinion. Sotomayor described it as an open invitation for the government to bypass the Constitution. The case stems from President Trump's order to end birthright citizenship for children of undocumented immigrants. The court's ruling did not directly tackle the constitutionality of Trump's orders, and it will likely to end up before the top court at a later date. Uh,
Yep.
yeah, who let the
There's
dog?
another whole one, but I don't know if you want to deal with it.
Yeah, JJ, who let the dog out? Jacob did. Jacob did. So Jacob let the dog out. So, let me shut off Sesame Street. Yes, I apologize for my having to step away, I failed my duties in having a bubba ready for when he woke up. I thought he was going to sleep through, and he did not. And somebody said, "I need a bubba right now." And he didn't call me Nene.
And he survived.
Yeah, he didn't call me Nene. He called me that other word that begins with a B. Yes, it was not pleasant, so I had to hurry up and make a bubba. So anyway.
Aww.
Yep. Lawmakers react to the court's decision. Obviously, the leading Democrats on Capitol Hill have sharply criticized the Supreme Court's decision to curb judges' power to block President Donald Trump's orders nationwide. U.S. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said the court recklessly limited the ability of federal district courts to issue nationwide injunctions. However, the judicial fight to protect birthright citizenship is alive and well. Every child born in the United States is an American citizen. We will not rest until the constitutional right is completely and unequivocally protected. U.S. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer described the ruling as an unprecedented and terrifying step towards authoritarianism, a grave danger to our democracy. By weakening the power of district courts to check the presidency, the court is not defending the Constitution, it is defacing it, he added. Republican leaders have welcomed of the decision. The Supreme Court made it clear that these rogue, politically motivated judges have exceeded their authority, and overtly political practice must end, House Speaker Mike Johnson said. Vice President J.D. Vance said, a huge ruling by the Supreme Court smacking down the ridiculous process of nationwide injunctions. Under our system, everyone has to follow the law, including judges.
Yep. I don't know if you want to keep reading because all they have is more articles
Yeah, that's
basically
fine.
saying the
Yeah,
same things.
it'll be posted on the in our description. It is just sheer craziness that we have the ability to issue these nationwide injunctions. I totally agree that they're inappropriate. That a judge that is, one judge in one district can say, stop the entire country from doing something.
Yeah,
And
no.
I didn't know that a federal judge had that type of power.
They shouldn't.
Apparently, they thought they did.
I mean, especially on something so. But it's obvious, when this law was written, it wasn't meant for people who were here on a work visa or a school visa
Or
to
an
have a
illegal
child
alien.
here. And
Or an illegal alien.
yeah, it was not meant for that. It is not what it was meant
Do
for. And
tell
these
us what it
people
was
have
meant
taken
for.
advantage of it.
Yeah, do tell us what it was meant
Oh,
for.
it was
Crazy
originally
bee.
meant for the children of slaves. It was
Correct.
originally meant for the children of slaves. When the
Correct.
slaves were freed due to the Emancipation Proclamation and all that other nonsense, it was meant to, what do we do with their kids?
Right.
Do we send the kids back? Do we keep them here? Are they an American citizen? Are they not? There was a lot of confusion as to what to do, because that's what happens when you make a rash decision without having a full plan of what to do afterwards.
Oh.
Yeah, Lincoln didn't think that shit through. But it's okay. They got it. It just took a while. But yes, this was originally meant for the children of slaves. And not
Mm-hmm.
just African slaves, Irish slaves, and all the others that were
Right.
enslaved and sent
Correct.
here, or sent here as a punishment. Yes, that happened.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
So historically, it was not meant for the everyday dingbat who was here to go to college or to get a degree or to
Or
hold a job for a while
or
and then go
how about
back.
the
Yeah, no.
Chinese government
Child labor
send
back.
yeah, or how about the
Kids
Chinese
these days
government sending
have it too
over
good.
women that are due to deliver, and they come on a tourist visa. And it just so happens she's almost ready to deliver her
There's no
child.
there's a lot of claims saying that's never actually happened. It was a possibility. They've claimed there's no proof of it. So, I mean, it's a possibility, though. There was that possibility that
Uh,
it happened for
uh,
decades.
well, just like
I would
there's
love to see an
this,
actual proof of it, but
yeah,
yeah,
just like there's the secret Chinese police departments throughout the country as well.
everywhere.
Yep,
Not just our country,
I know,
every country
I know. They're not China's.
except Russia.
Well, who knows?
Well, in North Korea. I'm sorry, North Korea and
North
I believe
Korea would
Russia are
be
the only two
right.
places where it's not. Yeah, it's a mess. The world is a mess, and I don't like it. So, but we do have a video breaking down a little bit more from Charlie Kirk about these birthright citizenship things.
Yes, and just so
So,
everybody knows,
this one was hard for me.
just so everybody knows, May Mailman is a legit political. She worked for Trump during his first term, and she is helping assist on his second term. But she is a legit because we questioned somebody's name as Mailman. But
Yeah, I'm like her parents had to have hated her with every atom of their being because if you say the name too quickly, it sounds like mammalian,
uh-huh.
and yeah, I just you gotta wonder what the parents were thinking, but, this was hard for me. I actually had to take a break because my brain could not stop processing her name long enough to
Uh-huh.
finish the video. It took 2 days to edit this because my
She,
brain would not
I
stop.
kept hearing,
Why was her name?
right, I kept hearing,
Her name is
Is
May
May
Mailman.
Mailman her real name? Is May Mailman her real name? I'm like, yes, it
So
is.
she's a mailman.
I struggled
Yes.
with it. My brain couldn't process. So, I finally got it done, and it's a good video. Once my brain got past the name, it's a good video. So,
You've been doing a very good job on doing
all
the
right.
editing with the new program that you have, and I
Mhm.
like the subtitles.
Yeah, those subtitles though, and again, this is any subtitle program, as they do sometimes get it wrong. And I have to read through as it's playing, listening and trying to retype everything, and you would not believe how many names I have to Google the spelling for.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's
Before
fun.
we,
It
yeah,
is
before
fun,
we, yeah,
but
before
it is
we go
something I
on,
do enjoy doing. It makes me really think. It makes me work.
well, good. I'll continue to send you work. Uh, Art says the judges didn't have nationwide power, and that's what the latest decision basically says. But next comes class action suits which will have the same effect of a national injunction. Yep,
Uh-huh.
it's a no-win
Yep,
situation.
they're just using the system to drag it out
Exactly.
until he's no longer president,
Yep.
and then it'll get dropped.
Mm-hmm.
Magic. I just hope we get JD Vance next term or
So do
someone
I.
like him
Yep.
that'll keep the ball rolling.
Yes, ma'am. All right, hit play.
Joining us now is May Mailman, White House Deputy Assistant to the President and Senior Policy Strategist. We're just going to go straight through the breaks here, and the live reads can wait. May, great to see you. Major victory today on the Supreme Court. You're doing wonderful work, by the way, May, helping this agenda every day. So congratulations on that. And also congratulations on this major decision from the Supreme Court. Tell us all about it, May.
Yeah, this is a huge day. You know, you are optimistic, but even I wasn't this optimistic. This is amazing. So for years, President Trump has been essentially told what to do by random unelected district court judges. More than half of all nationwide injunctions that have ever taken place are against President Trump. Everything from judges telling him he needs to put transgender people in the military, how he needs to run his immigration, everything from the wall to who is deported, top to bottom, nationwide injunctions. And it was not the same when Trump was out of office, and conservative judges often restrained themselves. So the Title IX case, which many people will remember, the conservative states sued and did pause Biden's illegal Title IX rewrite in those states, but not nationwide until, of course, we came in and said, we're not doing that anymore.
Just go deeper into this for our audience. This means that if there is an injunction, it will only pertain to the district that the injunction was authored in. Is this the end of all nationwide injunctions?
Oh, of course, the left is going to try and weasel around this. So this case particularly pertained to birthright citizenship. Obviously, on day one, President Trump said illegal aliens, their children don't automatically become citizens. It set up a little system in order to do that. And a lot of people sued. So 3 different courts said, we're not just going to say that this law is illegal as pertains to who is in front of us. We're going to say that this executive order is illegal everywhere, for everyone, for all time. And so the Supreme Court said, no, you're not going to do that. Now, there are still some open questions. So, for example, if a group of 10 states sue, can you enjoin the executive order in those 10 states and for anybody who passes through that state? You know, there are ways to make this broad. Then there's the class action approach. So, of course, the left is going to keep trying to push this, However, yes, it is true that today, nationwide injunctions that are just sweeping, we don't like you, Trump, so we're going to stop you from doing what you would like to do because I'm a district court judge and I'm bored. That practice is over.
And the profundity and the significance of this is that this was all happening in like 5 different jurisdictions. And the original intent of the Constitution was never to have a singular district court judge be able to sweep the entire nation repeatedly. And so what other than executive orders does this potentially free up that are now enjoined?
Yeah, so this is going to have a huge impact. Let's just take, for example, some of our policies that have said we're not going to spend money on hospitals, transgender procedures for minors. That gets enjoined. We've also said we're not. That's a big one. We've also said, for example, that we're not going to fund transgender procedures in prison. So these sorts of things, these cultural issues, I think are going to move forward. Now, the Supreme Court has done a pretty good job of whacking these district court judges when they get too far. So, for example, we had judges say that you can't deport people to third countries, and the Supreme Court said, no, you can. But it has been a repeated going up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court basically says, this is not how it's supposed to be. There's not supposed to be an emergency every single time that affects the entire nation. Parties.
I want to point out, by them declaring an emergency every time, all they're doing is ensuing chaos, and that is the whole point. It's on purpose.
That's the intent.
It's not too far off from some of the stuff we've seen it before. Like, again, not to be horrible, but look at all the lies that the Bushes helped cultivate about going over to the Middle East and, all these threats in this place, all these threats in that place. And it all turned out to be bogus. Right. I mean, we've seen this kind of fear mongering before. This constant, it's an emergency. Everything's an emergency because it hurt my feelings. It's gotta stop. Art says there were several national injunctions on stuff the Republicans wanted to block. Both sides forum shop. Exactly. That's why I used the Bushes, because I'm pointing out the left and the right are exactly the same crap. They just put on a show.
Right.
That,
it all depends.
Yeah. It all depends on what's going to get them the most power. Right. Fight this. Nope, I want that because I make money off of it. Right. It's got to stop. when and where can we make it? Well, I mean, I know how we make it stop, but that's going to require a lot of people to be heavily involved in their local law making process.
Yeah, and I don't see that happening anytime soon,
Ugh.
fortunately.
Yeah, because everybody's stuck having to work two jobs, even in a two-parent home. Both parents are working a job and a half each,
Right.
trying to make ends meet.
Correct.
They did this so insanely, and it's again, I'm not looking at the small picture because some propagandist told me. I'm looking at history and seeing where America has slowly slipped down the slope of chaos into bullshit. And I've been hollering about this for years. Ask my family. I'm annoying with it, but it's stuff that's got to stop. We've got to put a stop somewhere. Someone throw out a grappling hook and stop this shit.
I agree.
And actually, it can't be someone. It's got to be a bunch of us saying enough of this. Enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it should be
Yes,
more
son.
than,
U.S. Navy medical assistant technician.
well,
Why
we'll get
not?
into that later.
Oh my lord. And I've got my son over here. Can I join up? Can I apply for the border patrol? No.
Why?
But mother, it's the only job that will actually accept me.
It's not the only job that would actually accept you. And no, I'm not having him working with border patrol because he will be sent down to Texas to actually patrol the border. And I don't want him shot. And there is a high probability. And on top of all the other things that I don't think he is prepared for in life.
No. Mom, why did you check mark high school diploma or GED?
I didn't.
Then why is it green?
Because you have some education.
But that's not a diploma or GED.
Oh, stop it. Can I get back to the podcast?
You're being a dingus.
Help. Anyone want my son for a couple days?
Pass.
I'll donate him.
I can't. I can't.
He could help babysit the future dictator of Guatemala.
This is
See, now
true.
you're agreeing with
Yes.
I'm not
me.
agreeing with you. I'm just agreeing with you
that
and D.
dictator needs to be smothered.
Stop it. Anyways, let's get back to the
That
video
is
because
funny that he thinks
I am
that.
rabbit holing.
Yeah, that is funny that he thinks he's going to be the dictator of Guatemala instead of the United States, but we'll go for it. Right?
Military school and a gag device.
What's the difference?
I've actually told him I think he would be great in the Navy. I think my
But when I
son
suggested,
would.
you said no.
No, that was for Navy medic. Do you really want to deal with blood, guts, and everything else? Mangled limbs?
No.
Well, I mean, hear me out on this one. If you're going out in the field, you're bound to experience that one day.
Oh my lord. I mean, if you want to join the Navy, I'll back you.
No.
You'd be taken after two of your grandpas. Two of four. Then we also got Army, which actually two of five, because three were in the Army. Your great grandfather and two of your step grandfathers were Army, and your biological grandfather were.
Refuse to elaborate.
Anyways, let's hit play. My son's doing this on purpose.
Parties need to individually sue, and then they can get relief for those parties. And some people will win and some people will lose, and that'll percolate up to the Supreme Court, and they'll be able to look and see what are the different reasonings that we have, how is the law being interpreted, what do we need to fix. So this is really good for process for the American.
I don't think he has the IQ for the Air Force. Otherwise, I would send him.
Why?
However, Space Force might be a great one
you just
for him.
called me stupid.
No, the Air Force requires like top of the line education.
Well, that's because of
You were held back because the schools were stupid, and I had you in a public city school. So yes, but I was thinking Space Force. That's another good option. Sorry.
I'll Google it.
Yeah,
Wait,
Google it.
do you mean
What?
the
Because
one
I
with,
know it requires like if.
do
Go
you
ahead.
mean the city the city? Do you mean the federal one or Elon's?
An error has occurred.
My son went to Google the IQ requirements for the Air Force, and it said an error has.
No. On the Indeed.
Oh, on Indeed.
And it logged me out.
Oh my God! But I'm sorry, Dee. What were you saying?
I said, are you talking the federal government Space Force or SpaceX with Elon Musk?
Oh no, the government Space Force to get his military service in.
Gotcha.
I don't know if they'll take him though. You know, again, autism. He would be good at a Space Force thing. The way he thinks outside the box, he might actually be good for it.
You never
But
know.
then again,
Try. You know my motto.
Yeah.
Which is,
well, first he's got to go through the boot camp process. So we can. It's something worth discussing. It is.
Yes, it is.
So, anywho, we need to get back to this video. We get rabbit holed way too easily. The bait is so simple.
Yes, it is. We're easily
The American
beatable.
Yep.
This is good for the Supreme Court, for people to trust the opinions that are coming out of there because they will be more thoughtful. They'll have more information. This is a net positive for everybody. And of course, the dissent does not see it that way.
So, May, do you have any thoughts on the dissent against Ketanji Brown Jackson? It was just pure judicial savagery. I mean, this is it, quote, "This is the whole dissent. We will not dwell on Justice Jackson's argument, which is at odds with more than 2 centuries worth of precedent, not to mention the Constitution itself. We observe only this. Justice Jackson decries an imperial executive while embracing an imperial judiciary." Look, I got to be honest, that Amy Coney Barrett is not always with us, but this was a phenomenal, sharp, usually dissents are multiple pages long and they're deep. This is one paragraph that just goes right after KJ. Your thoughts, May Mailman.
So Justice Jackson obviously has not been consistent in being brave, and yet she's been consistent in being concerned about an overstep of judicial power. And so really, she is aghast that Justice Jackson thinks, and this is what Justice Jackson wrote down on paper, that she thinks that the job of a judge is to stop Trump, is to see any time that executive.
I am not sure if he's an Israeli sellout. Honestly, at this point, I'm wondering if that's a boogeyman thing, just to distract people because of how big the movement has gotten so quick. Well, I mean, it's gradually gotten there, but I really wonder if it's a distraction tactic, the whole Israel boogeyman thing. I'm on the fence with this one, because it's like, ugh. I know some things about the culture and a lot of the people, so I'm kind of on the fence with that Israeli thing, and I half wonder if it's a boogeyman just to distract. It's not the first time we've seen that happen in history, so that's something worth digging into. That might be something fun, but it would have to be a rumble
Yeah, that'd have to be a question.
only. I don't see YouTube being
Question.
friendly to it. So, but that, yeah, questions that need answers, because there are some documentaries out there that go against the historical narrative that make you think, but you also got to remember there's 2 sides to every story and things get exaggerated a lot. I don't know if a lot of people are coming out of the woodwork after the Iran thing. Yeah, it's up for grabs. It really is. And I think it's definitely a conversation worth having, but that's going to have to be questions that need answers.
Alrighty, move on.
I can pull some more stuff together. I know I didn't get to it this past weekend, but we'll see where we can go with it. Let's hit play and try to get through this before the day is over.
Executive just doing something that judge believes is against the law and stop it. But that's not the case. So one, there are rules that apply to judges too. You as a judge have the judicial power. You don't have policy-making power. I don't like this. I think these people should be getting that. You can't just step in and say that. You as a judge have limited powers to decide cases and controversies. This is in the Constitution, cases and controversies, which means between the parties that are in front of you, issues that are in front of you. And Justice Jackson cares none about that. Now, the founders did care about that, and there were certainly models out there that said before laws can take effect, before an executive can act, they have to ask the judiciary for permission. Say, can I do this? And the judiciary can say yes or no. That is not our system. Our system is 3 equal branches, and for the judiciary to not be a super branch that sits over everybody and tells everybody what to do, there are certain rules. Justice Jackson does not care about those rules, and she has no basis for it. She just doesn't like it. And so Justice Barrett very rightly says, you know what, at least the other 2 liberals pointed to laws underpinning why they disagree. You don't. You just want to tell Trump what to do, and that's insane. And it is a remarkable opinion from Justice Barrett.
It is. And May, I want to keep you for a couple more minutes if that's okay. I know that we have packed schedules, but the audience is loving this. Can you speak more broadly to the policy portfolio that the president is pushing, that I know that you're working on with Stephen Miller, in regards to immigration? We must have the Immigration Customs and Enforcement back, have their back, and we do on this program. How does these legal decisions impact our ability to be able to do mass deportations, and what cases are you most closely looking at so that we can have expedited removal?
Yeah, the American people voted overwhelmingly for border security, but they also voted for interior enforcement, because if you can cross the border and make it into the country, and then it's, oh, there's no recourse for you, then you do not have a closed border. Border security, interior enforcement is national security. And so the cases that this is going to affect are many. It is going to affect whether Biden had any authority to basically create fake immigration laws to say you can CBP-1 your way into this country. It's going to continue to affect cases like the ones that I mentioned. Where can individuals be removed to? It's going to affect authorities that you can use, money that you can use to detain people and to build the wall. There is a countless application for immigration law here, even things like the student visas, whether or not the executive has authority to take away student visas when the law says so, but judges don't like that. And so today's a really great day for the separation of powers and for limited judicial power, which is unchecked.
We're going to keep going a couple more minutes, but I hope the radio audience understands that they want to have a ceremonial executive. They just want a ribbon-cutting executive where the president welcomes Super Bowl champions and Little League World Series kids, and they come to the White House and they get dinners and they just smile and wave, and all of a sudden you have no power. We have 3 co-equal branches, co-equal. So May, can you talk a little bit to the strategy, this shock and awe executive order strategy that the president developed, which was that he signed a lot of executive orders early. The brilliance of doing this early in the term was that we knew there was going to be a flurry of legal challenges. But to adjudicate those in the first 6 to 9 months, instead of going into year 2, 3, or 4, is a brilliant strategy. It's so smart, it's so wise, because we're going to see more and more of these very well-tailored and sometimes legally provocative executive orders figured out earlier than later so that we can then govern for the remainder of the administration, not fight in the courts the entire administration. May.
Charlie, this is my favorite issue, so thanks for bringing it up. And you were there during transition. You saw how hard people were working, because this change is something that matters to us. So during 1.0, my personal experience was there was a regulation we were trying to get passed, and I said, hey, can I see a draft of this in 6 months? And they laughed at me. The agency laughed at me and said, no, this will take years. And sure enough, the public charge regulation did not come out for several years. And even though we were successfully litigating that case, it was so late in the term that by the time that we were ready to take it to the Supreme Court, there was a change in administration. And so, of course, Biden took it down. And this was something that says in order to come here, you have to basically be able to pay your way a little bit and not be a huge drag on society. So now during Trump 2.0, the lesson that we have learned is, no, you can do things quickly. We know this because during COVID, we did do things quickly, and we saw the deep state work with us. They were so excited to do some of these things. And then also we saw Biden worked really quickly. So it is absolutely possible. And we just said, we're not taking no for an answer this time. We're going to move quickly.
And everyone understands. So the speed and the rapidity.
Yep. I was just trying to pause.
That's so.
Go ahead.
I don't even know what to say about that.
oh, hurry up, have everything ready to roll, whether, there's any validity to it, whether there's any.
Uh-oh. I think we lost D. Yep. I think she got muted. Let's wait for her to come back and she will finish her thoughts. Unless it was my end that went bad. Can y'all hear her? Or is it me? Uh-oh. Bugger. Is it my end? Uh-oh. Can't hear D, but you guys can hear me. All right, let me send her a message in Discord to let her know. Let's see. We shall see. We shall see.
Hello?
Are we back?
I don't know.
Hi.
Getting old. Anyway, I'm not repeating what I said. Just go ahead, move on.
Oh, we wanted to hear your thoughts.
That's okay. I don't have any right now. You don't want to hear them?
Second. It's that bad, huh? All right. Yeah, the way they're going with things right now, it's messed up. It really truly is. Um I just don't get it. Why the courts think that they can run the country and us people have no say in it. I don't like that at all. It's a really bad system to have. So, let's get through these last few minutes.
Because we know legal challenges are.
Art says D has to learn to stay away from the deep state topics.
No, that's not it. I had something to say. I was speaking and you guys couldn't hear me. And I'm mad that I keep getting kicked out. The damn thing doesn't work. Everything always seems to happen. And I'm not repeating myself right now. I'm aggravated. That's why I have a
No,
lot
it's not. No, he's talking that the deep state is kicking you from the
Oh, is
studio,
that
so
what
you
it's
can't
doing?
stay.
They don't want to hear what I have to
That's
say.
what he's referencing is the feds.
I see. Well, somebody is, because it's getting to be old really quick. How many times? That's 3 times today.
Yeah, it is. All right, let's try to get through it. We're doing pretty good. Still got about 30 minutes, so I think we can pull this off.
Challenges are coming. And so they're going to come. So you brace for impact early. So, for example, in Trump 1.0, one of the biggest legal accomplishments that not come, I think, till like year 2.5 or 3, which was remain in Mexico on the border. And it took us like 2 years to finally get it through. This time, we're building on a strong legal basis for the border, which is one of the reasons why the border is totally secure, because we did all that legal work in Trump 1. You see, we worked through the courts in the thicket, and we did all that. So then day 1, we could just re-implement everything we already did. President Trump signs documents, cartels, foreign terrorist organization, remain in Mexico, we're going to threaten tariffs. Boom, military declaration. Next thing you know, we have 0 people coming across the southern border. Speak to how we sometimes have to let this play out. And then the good stuff is really going to start rolling in the coming years now that we navigate through the frustrating but necessary component of the third branch of government.
Yeah, and this ruling is going to help alleviate some of the frustration. But basically, the executive orders come out, you have rogue parties and you have rogue judges enjoining them, and there's a low point. You know, there's a point where you feel like the things that you wanted aren't happening, and what are you going to do about it? And the Supreme Court has been good with overturning some of that. But really, some of it is a slog. The Supreme Court does not sit every day to answer every single one of our questions. And so it requires building that case, picking the right cases, finding the best arguments, and taking that to the Supreme Court. Now, those are going to be taken next term. So when the Supreme Court reconvenes in October, those cases are all in front of them, and it's on a strong posture. Those are our best cases. Those are our best arguments. And so it leaves still 3 years, essentially, to go implement the rest of the agenda and solidify them, make that, get our wins in Congress, and to really execute and change the course of the country, because that is what this presidency is about.
Totally.
It's not about racking up minor wins. It's about changing the trajectory of our nation.
Saving the civilization. Last question here, May. I want you to brag on what the president, you, Stephen, have done on the border. It's unlike anything we've ever seen before. We have to repeat it every day. I don't think we're doing a good enough job of beating the drum of success on the border. How did you do it, and what operationally is the truth of what is not happening on the southern border?
Yeah, so the border is a signature success, and the fact that people aren't talking about it anymore is because things aren't going wrong, right? Things are going right.
Exactly.
And so what you see when the numbers are zero, what does that mean? Zero means that there are no gotaways. There's nobody that we're tracking via drones saying that they get away. Every single person is, and there are some illegal crossers, but they are detained and then they are deported. And that is not only a success. So that's not just a success of our Border Patrol agents. That's also a success of Marco Rubio and our State Department, because people didn't accept their migrants back when it was Biden, because they said, no, we don't want our criminal. And Biden said, oh, okay. But now we say, you will take back your citizens, and people know not to mess with Trump and not to mess with our new era of American greatness. And so border security is so much more than just the infrastructure there or the wall or the people. It is American power that's being asserted again.
May, congratulations. Come back soon. You're terrific. May Mailman from the administration. Wonderful job. Thanks so much.
Mailman.
Thanks, Charlie.
I can't get past it. Mailman. Thank you, Mailman.
I wonder what her middle name is.
I don't know. Some people don't have middle names. I've met quite a few in my life. Very strange, but very possible. So it's hard to say. But again, you know, I'm glad that Trump is getting some of these cases out of the way, especially the ridiculous petty ones.
Right.
That you know they're filing just to drag shit out and make it complicated.
As we mentioned
So I'm glad they are getting it taken care of.
As we mentioned before he even took office, they had 165 cases ready to go against him. I mean, imagine that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'll bet the
preemptive attack.
I'll bet you the dumbass
preemptive response.
Yeah, I'll bet you the dumbass Republicans didn't have that ready for Kamala.
Yeah, I guarantee they didn't.
Yep, I guarantee it too.
So we have time.
Yeah,
we have one article yet.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I said they might have talked about it.
I'm sorry. There's a lag. My end is lagging. I'm so sorry.
They may have talked about it, but they probably didn't do anything about it.
They would have never done anything about it.
Why are we lagging?
I don't know. Let me see.
I'm going to go out and come back.
I have no clue.
I'm going to go out and come back.
I don't think it's that. I think it's my internet is just crap.
Well, let me try. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yay, joys of technical difficulties again. It wouldn't be a show if we didn't have a tech issue, right?
Thank you for waiting, everybody, while we experience technical difficulties. It would not be Wrecked Sister.
I literally just was saying that while you were out. It wouldn't be a show if
Busy
we didn't
bee.
have some technical problems. And she dipped out again.
It's on my
Oh,
end.
now we're back again.
I think it's on my end because it just said my internet went out and we are going to get another storm. That's the first time that's ever happened. Do 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 do
Yeah.
do do. Either that or
I get that all the time here.
it's never happened here. This is the first. Unless we are having direct interference from maybe foreign governments messing with our videos or our live streams. Who knows? But thank you, everybody, while we experience technical difficulties.
Yeah, it could be.
Mm-hmm. Crazy Bee, if you'd like to pull up the next article, we would be happy to try to get through it before the 5 o'clock hour.
Yep. JJ's listening in because he's driving to work. Let
Oh, we got a
me switch
lurker. We got a
this.
lurker in the chat. Just what we love.
Yep.
This one.
So.
Yes. This is
Yep.
just a summary as well. The United Nations conference seeks foreign aid rally as Trump cuts bite. Dozens of world leaders gather in Seville for a UN aid summit under a cloud of funding cuts and global crises. Following Trump's policy shifts, the U.S. eliminated 83% of USAID. I just wonder why. 83% of
Because most
USAID.
of it was useless.
And if anybody is interested, we do have some previous videos on how useless USAID really is. So again, that was he eliminated 83% of USAID programs, prompting Germany, the UK, and France to also slash aid budgets, threatening global development efforts. Now, why would Germany, the UK, and France follow us? The UN summit in Seville aims to rally aid amid US-led cuts, with projections of over 14 million deaths by 2030 if funding drops, and countries with high USAID support experiencing 65% fewer HIV, HIV/AIDS deaths. Despite aid cuts, Spain increased its
Yeah, I was gonna.
development.
It's all good.
Yeah. Despite aid cuts, Spain increased its development contribution by 12%, with Granados affirming ongoing global solidarity efforts. Beyond Seville, the UN summit calls for a comprehensive overhaul of the global financing system, including an annual follow-up mechanism to ensure accountability from all member states. Now,
Yep.
make note of, they want the comprehensive overhaul of the global financing system. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Gonna highlight
Every
that.
uh-huh. Everybody's gonna be using the same type of currency. We've talked about that previously. So the United Nations is really going to try to pull this off. I hope that the United States stays away from it. This came down from the World Economic Forum, and I can't believe it's still being carried through
I thought
today.
they basically did that with the euro. I thought they basically did that when they switched to the euro across the EU.
I thought so, but they want the United States. They want all countries using the same currency.
I understand how that would make things easier, but I also understand how that's a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. And then remember
I
that
see both sides.
that ESG rating, the environmental, social, governmental, and I'm missing a letter.
Uh-huh.
ESG, whatever. That everybody would get a
Nope,
score.
ESG is environmental, social, and government. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And right now, China uses a scoring system. Every citizen receives a score, and that can be tied into what type of job you have, where you can even grocery shop. So I don't want to see
What
this.
schools you can get into.
Exactly. I don't want to see this in the United States. I'm dead set against this. Absolutely
Nope.
not. Nope, nada. All right. What else we got?
It better not happen. I
About
will be fighting it till the end.
well, we'll see. We'll continue to watch,
Let me see what's
monitor
up
what this.
next.
Yeah, what the summit comes out. What comes out of the summit. Vanilla says
Okay, so
83.
next
Yeah,
is
Vanilla says 83%. They need to get to 120. And Vanilla goes, I wonder
Amen.
how. Yeah, he goes, I wonder how bad my score is. It's probably as bad as your credit score, if not worse.
It's as bad. I guarantee you I'd be in serious trouble.
So would I. Yeah,
Because I am way too opinionated for that bullshit.
So we.
Oh, sounds like we have people coming in. Let's try to get through this video. It's 6 minutes and 40 seconds.
And we can call it a day.
And then we'll be done for the day. So let's listen to this because it's actually something really important. Canadians made a huge mistake.
Big time.
Here we go.
All right, folks, so in a massive slap to American tech companies, Canada's new globalist government under Mark Carney just recently announced a digital services tax that's purposely aimed and only targeted at US tech firms. In other words, the exact same thing that the UK just dropped, the main point of contention in US/British trade talks. The one thing the president vehemently disagreed with the most, well, Canada's genius prime minister just came in and said, you know what? That's exactly where we're going to start these negotiations. And holy frickin' moly, is the president pissed. President Trump writes this on Truth Social. We have just been informed that Canada, a very difficult country to trade with, including the fact that they have charged our farmers as much as 400% tariffs for years on dairy products, has just announced that they are putting a digital services tax on our American technology companies, which is a direct and blatant attack on our country. They are obviously copying the European Union, which has done the same thing and is currently under discussion with us also. Based on this egregious tax, we are hereby terminating all discussions on trade with Canada, effective immediately. We will let Canada know the tariff that they will be paying to do business with the United States of America within the next 7-day period. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And so it's right back to big old tariffs on America's younger socialist brother of the North. And again, I think it's totally justified. President Trump is right to call it a blatant attack on American innovation and tech leadership. You don't just get to leech off US companies for decades and then turn around and hit them with extra taxes. It's obvious what Canada's trying to do here. They've probably got themselves in a little bit of a tax slump after destroying private industry in their own nation. And so, what are they doing? What's the genius solution? It's not pulling back taxes. It's not unleashing Canadian resources and the entrepreneurial spirit. No, it's using American businesses as their personal ATM machine. That's exactly what this is. And you know what's the craziest thing of all? Who do you think's getting screwed here? Is it America? Is Mark Carney taking it to Donald Trump? No, it's the Canadian people who are getting screwed. Canadians, especially young Canadians, are living through the worst cost of living crisis in the modern world. I mean, they're at the top of every list that you don't want to be at the top of. And at the core of all of it is government burdens and gatekeeping. Taxes and regulation are through the frickin' roof. And so in the last Canadian federal election, you had the majority of young people voting for change. But nope, the Canadian boomer class has come in and they've sent a very clear message to all the Canadian people who are struggling. They said, worse trade relations with the United States and more taxes. Oh, it's just genius. Rebel News' Ezra Levant doesn't seem so thrilled.
Breaking news, Donald Trump has just said he is canceling all trade talks with Canada. Sort of a shock.
Wait, so Trump is saying that unless you give these people free speech, we ain't dealing with you.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I like that idea.
So do I.
Where are we going? It's time to see Jurassic Park.
Guys, I'm almost done with this. Okay? Almost done. Be patient. Sorry. Let's continue. I like that Trump is doing it this way. I really do. So, let me hit. I wish Canada.
I wish I was a Canadian leader.
Give me more money. Not happening. No. And I don't know if I would trust you. I like you, but I don't know if I would trust you being in charge of Canada. That would be a really shocking circumstance to people who are so used to being controlled in every movement and every action. Oh my God, it would be hilarious, but I don't know how well it would go. Oh my God, that would be fun to watch. Let's try to get through these last few minutes. Oh my God.
Shocking announcement, and his reason is that Mark Carney has said he's going to tax the internet, a digital services tax, and those taxes will fall on U.S. companies, whether it's Netflix or Twitter. We don't know the details yet, but Donald Trump is having none of it. And to make his point, he's saying he will cease all trade talks with Canada until Carney withdraws. Now, that's Trump's point of view, but look, put yourself in the shoes of an ordinary Canadian, which you are. We don't want this digital services tax either. We do not want an internet tax, not on Netflix, not on Facebook, not on Twitter. And there's two reasons for that. Number one, we don't want to pay another tax. But even more importantly, we do not want to set the precedent that Mark Carney gets to regulate the internet. I don't know if you remember, but in the last parliament, Justin Trudeau introduced the Online Harms Act, a vicious censorship law, the strictest in the world. Literally, it had North Korea-style punishments in it, including life in prison. There's no life in prison for anything in Canada. Now, that dissolved when Justin Trudeau dissolved the last parliament. But if you look at Mark Carney's Heritage Department, they say their number one strategic priority for this year is bringing back that internet regulation. We got to get our trade deal back on track with the United States. Don't give Mark Carney any more tax money. We've got to stop him from getting the precedent of regulating the internet. If he taxes it today, he'll censor it tomorrow.
I think he hit the nail on the head that it's not just President Trump who doesn't want to see this tax. It's probably the Canadian people too, especially considering what little CC.
And that's if the Canadian people even understand what this is going to do to them, because their own propagandists are probably trying to sell this as a good thing.
Yeah, just like our mainstream media does.
Yeah. They want to sell the worst ideas as a good thing when they're really not. And that is alarming. That is very alarming that a government would do that. And I mean, again, I don't like our government doing it. I speak out about it constantly. All of them messed up. So, yeah. Let's get through this. We got a few minutes left.
CCP Mark Carney ran on in the first place. One of his key promises was backing off on the carbon tax to give people tax relief. But instead, he only temporarily, artificially reduced the carbon tax while maintaining the law itself, and then comes in and drops even more taxes while provoking trade wars with America, the world's superpower. I mean, it's absolute clown behavior. And basically, it's more doubling down on this new age political worldview, which seems to be centered around this very smart economic strategy of totally squeezing the middle class dry. Holy frickin' moly, it's called the compounding tax effect. You make some money, and not only do you get hit with an income tax, no, that's just step one. Then you get hit with a massive sales tax. Then there's all kinds of hidden taxes on everything, from your gas consumption to your internet bill, excise tax, carbon tax, state and municipal taxes. I mean, the list never ends. Then, of course, all the money you worked for gets hit with a capital gains tax, which, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, Justin Trudeau was trying to increase, on top of trying to apply a, quote, luxury tax. And then, of course, when you die and you want to leave your money and everything you worked hard for to your family, you get hit with an inheritance tax, the estate tax. It's tax on tax on tax on tax on tax on tax. And now on top of all of it, they want an internet tax. Effect. Well, this in the Western world is exactly what's destroying the middle class. You earn $1 and the government takes almost the entire damn thing by the end of it. You know, you only think you're paying a 30% income tax, but by the end of it, you're probably getting like significantly less than half of what you actually earned. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, what a freaking mistake it was to vote based on your Trump derangement syndrome. You voted for better times and instead you get this. Yeah, I think the Canadian people at this point are paying the price for electing another empty suit globalist politician whose entire platform was "I'll take on Trump," and now the second he opens his mouth, it's right back to a full-blown trade war. No relief, no solutions, just more taxes and more problems. Meanwhile, the American economy is ready to frickin' fly, ready to take a rocket like Elon Musk's SpaceX. You know, people always say elections have consequences. Voting has consequences. Well, I guess in this case, voting stupidly seems to have major consequences. Talk about
That it
electoral
does.
backfire.
Yeah. It sucks that they had to find out the hard way, but it happened.
Yes, to my knowledge, they're back talking. He saw the ills of his ways, I believe.
Yep. I hope they don't make the same mistake next time. But by the way, they kept voting for Trudeau. I don't hold out much hope. I really don't, unless their elections are as rigged as America's and every other country's.
Now you see, Justin Trudeau is just like no. Kim Jong Un. Everyone loves him.
No. Well, Canada is so easy to brainwash. The government tells their people to hate America, and it works like a light switch. I've heard that.
What
Yeah.
happened to Canada becoming part of America, like the 51st state?
They're not going to make Canada a first
You
state.
mean Canada?
Canada. No, it's just, oh my God, it's hard when the entire world is going to communist dictator style governments, and you're the last one with any semblance of freedom, and you got jackasses here in America trying to force us to be communist dictators wannabes.
Exactly. Well,
I don't like it. I do
that's
not like
why,
it at all
yeah,
across the board.
and that's why it's scary of, the potential people that are going to be voted into office, which we
Yeah.
will hopefully cover tomorrow.
Fingers crossed. We'll get it.
Sounds like a plan.
I think we've covered pretty much everything for today's,
Okay.
and we've. It's scary that this is happening around the world the way it is.
Yes, it is.
So, yeah, it's fucked up. All right.
All
I'm
right.
just copying over the show notes really quick.
No
I
problem.
apologize for being paused mentally and verbally at the same time.
And apparently I'm on a lag, so
uh,
I don't know what to tell you. That's never happened before. Hopefully it doesn't tomorrow.
well, fingers crossed.
Yes, that's all
If
we can
not,
do.
we will work around it like we always do.
But everybody, please don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe, and share these videos. We would appreciate it. Don't forget that we are off on Friday to celebrate the 4th of July holiday. Summer will just be getting started.
Yep.
And with that being
I will
said,
be probably helping a family member move.
oh no. Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to reserve my strength as much as possible for that one.
You better take some meds.
Oh, yeah, I will be.
Okay.
Believe me, I will be. All right, folks.
All
I
right,
think we're
everybody
just
have a good
gonna be
yeah,
done.
all right, everybody have a good evening, and we shall see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a good one.
All right, stay safe, stay sane, stay sober, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.
Good